circles there. Now, the second use, very exciting, heat form leather. So we all know that wet forming leather gives you fantastic shapes, whether you're making masks or sheaths, whether you're making bowls. This is an example of a wet formed one, which I made a while back. So the leather was wet, it was formed into a former, and it was left to dry naturally in a slightly warmer environment than normal, so that when it dried back, it kept its shape and was quite hard, and it was then dyed and coloured. Now with this heat form leather, this process took probably a whole day before I could go back and then finish it all off, because I had to really wait for the leather to completely dry out. With this leather, you can do things like that in minutes, literally minutes. So this is one I've made with this leather, and this is even firmer than this one. Little bit of a different tone, and the way that we do this is we melt these waxes. Now you can do this very easily in a craft environment using an iron. So a piece of greaseproof paper on the top, and iron it. About a minute or so, the waxes will all completely melt. So you want your iron between the 2 dot and the 3 dot. And when you sort of lift it up, and when you feel like it's a little bit soft, just watch if it's a bit warm. When it's soft, that means you're ready to form it. And a colander comes in handy. Who knew? So because it's got holes in it, when you go to press in your shape, the air has got somewhere to escape to. So when you've got your softened rounded piece, and I will do a video actually showing me doing it just to show it does work, you can just press in. Now you do need to use quite a bit of your hands to sort of slide it down gently and slowly. And the thing I did kind of learn as well was that I had kind of itty bitty bits of fingernail. I haven't got much fingernail, but what I did have, I made a couple of marks in the bottom because the leather was obviously soft at that point. So try and use the pads of your fingers, or use a cloth to kind of over the top to just press to sort of dull the kind of any movement or action you're going to do that might indent too much. But other than that, left it for a minute, came back, and it was rock solid. Even better, it works once you've coloured it. So you can do all your colouring while it's lying flat, rather than trying to do those tricky things of trying to colour on a shape and a side and an angle. You can colour it on the flat and then shape it. And you can add all your other designs and everything. A lot of the time that heat action with the waxes is going to give you a really good seal on the top. And the other thing, because of the heat and the waxes, while it's still sort of in this kind of softer state, you can actually rub that top bit round. Now if you hadn't done that, or it's a bit tricky to do that while it's too soft, you can get a hot air gun and attach it to the, just literally heat around this top edge, and then give it a quick slick with your slicker, and you get this really smoothed out edge, which is good to know. Now I know that bowls are a lovely thing to make, but I know cutting out circles is very tricky. So that is why we have done these circular templates. So there are 3 circles. So you can buy them already cut, and you can then paint, dye, foil, embellish, make to your heart's content. And they're very quick makes. Great ideas for Christmas presents. I think you'll agree. But it doesn't stop there. So because this is heat form leather, it made us start thinking, what else can we do with it? So we also had the idea of sheaths. Now again, having a hardened leather, so the equivalent, if you like, to something like Kydex or those plastic heat thermal kind of materials, you can do this now in the leather. So exactly the same principle, and again we sell a pre-cut shape of this sheath. This will fit most knives, and it will fit scissors and tools. This one I've heated, and the best thing is you can go back and heat it again. So with this, what I did was I got it to this place, and then I riveted it in place, or you could stitch it down, got everything together, and then I reheated it and put my tool in and just pressed around. I actually did it with a pair of my really nice sewing scissors, and pressed it all around with my fingers just to mold it. Here we are, I have it here. So you can kind of see there the bump I've made. It's really holding these in nice and firmly. They're still easy to pull out, but they've just got that locking because it's actually formed all around the shape of it. I think you can kind of maybe get a bit of a sense of it there. So really nice, really easy way to, again, very quickly create a really hard supportive former for your tools. So nice and hard, nice and easy, and those are also available on the website. And again, I coloured that before I made it. And that's not all. So the other thing I was thinking, well, what else do we wet form? What else do we normally make? And the other thing I love making, I haven't done this for a while, so I had great fun doing it for this project, is mask making. You can do it for armour. You can make things really to custom fit you. So maybe a corset. Wow, that could be quite cool. We are selling the whole hides as well. Now, just to bear in mind, this is my mask I've made. It is quite hard to cut. You imagine trying to cut through this firm when it's this firm. So what you can do is to draw out all your design onto the leather first and then heat it gently so that you've got a little bit of softness, and then do your cutting. Makes it so much easier to cut. When I did this one, because it had quite a bit of cutting to do and quite a bit of shapes, I did it twice. I got about half of it done, and then it started getting really hard again. So I went back and reheated it while it was flat, cut the other half. And you'll see I managed to get the eye holes out really neatly, and even managed to save them to make my little decorations. So this was taken from one of the smaller rectangle pieces, sort of this, the slightly smaller one of those, which I haven't quite got to hand, but if you imagine it was a piece like this that we sell, and you can make your mask from it, and they're very reasonable prices. So I made all this, I dyed it, stamped it. Again, I slightly warmed it through to get the stamping impressions in it. So you can see there, it's taken the stamp embossed really well. It's got a lovely leathery texture still on it. I've used the water-based stain in purple on this, and then I've used some paints in the purple and the black, and some decorative rivets on it as well. Now, when it's flat and all of that's done, except for the rivets, I did do the rivets at the end, and we'll say that, but you probably could do it beforehand, but no, I wouldn't, because you've got to get some heat going on to it. So when it was all flat and all the colouring was done, I then ironed it. I then just checked it and held it, and I let it cool maybe a little, so it wasn't burning hot or anything. It was just nicely warm, and then I put it onto my face, and then using my fingers again, I just pressed it around and shaped it, so you really can get a fantastic custom mold going onto your face with this pressing. And then you just needed to hold it and hold it for a little bit. It's maybe you're talking 30-40 seconds, a minute, and then you can just place it down and then leave it just to completely cool off, and you have a solid mask it's still got a bit of flex, so it's very comfortable to wear. I did try that out, not for too long, but you've got a nice mask project. So we're putting this up as a project shortly as well. I hope this has kind of inspired your imagination. But this heat form leather is on the website. The tile leather is on the website. And oh my gosh, you guys, I mean, after this year's July competition, you just blow us away with how creative you all are. So we are really excited to see what you will come up with these leathers. Have fun.